on Fox Sports 910.
Hey, everybody, welcome back in. It is hour number 2. Rockin' Minutes with Jimmy B, Fox Sports 910, 99.9 FM HD2, and also on the iHeartRadio app. We're hanging out in Glendale today at Twin Peaks. And by the way, football and fireball. It's a match made in heaven. And by heaven, of course, we mean Twin Peaks. So spice things up for your next game day with a shot of your favorite cinnamon whiskey right here at Twin Peaks. And with that, we say good afternoon to Jesse Friedman, Arizona Diamondbacks beat writer, PHNX, and you can follow Jesse at Jesse N. Friedman on X or Twitter. Jesse, it's Jimmy B and Manuch. Have you recovered from last night? That's the first question.
Oh, man. No. I'll just put it simply. I think I was up writing until about 4 in the morning Arizona time last night. So it's been a bit of a long 24, 48 hours for me just on the work side. But for the Diamondbacks, just an incredible 2-game series. Both of these games, comeback wins, games that they were down almost instantly, right from the jump in the first inning. Brandon Pfaadt had a rough first inning. Zach Gallen had a rough first inning. The way that the Diamondbacks were able to bounce back, the way that they literally did not allow the Brewers to score after the second inning in either of these games, just incredible all the way around. And, there were a number of heroes that helped them get there.
Okay, before we get to the heroes, if this was – let's go back in the time machine 2 weeks after the All-Star break when the Diamondbacks bullpen just basically imploded before the trade deadline. And if I was to tell you in a best 2 out of 3 in a wild card match against the Milwaukee Brewers in Milwaukee that the Arizona Diamondbacks bullpen would not give up a run in a best 2 out of 3 and win that 2 out of 3, would you have me inserted into an assignment somewhere or what?
Something like that. Yeah, I think that sounds about right. It really is unprecedented how the bullpen has been able to turn things around. I wrote about that today. As of September 1st, the Diamondbacks had the 23rd best bullpen in baseball and in terms of ERA, which is obviously not a good number. I think their team ERA among relievers was 4.68 at that point. It was not a strength of this team. And then they went out in September and had a 2.16 team ERA out of the bullpen. And as you said, the bullpen played a huge role in those 2 games in Milwaukee, 9 in the third innings, not even allowing a single run in either of those games. And especially in that first one, right? When you only get 2 2/3 from Brandon Pfaadt, a young guy being put on a really big stage in that situation. The way that the bullpen was able to lock things down was incredible. And, a lot of that, as I wrote about today, has to do with Ryan Thompson. It has to do with Andrew Saalfrank, guys who are not part of this team a little more than a month ago at this point. And they have combined given up 1 earned run, and I believe it's 26 2/3 innings since joining this Diamondbacks team. Just incredible from both of those guys.
We're having a conversation with Jesse Friedman, the D-backs beat writer, just got off the plane a little bit ago. He has great work on PHNX. Great writer, and he is on the show with us right now. So let's start first. If you had a chance to talk with Alec Thomas after last night's win when he hit the home run, that dude has been struggling like crazy. Did he give you any information? Has the light gone on? What did he have to say?
Yeah, I think for Alec Thomas, it's just a matter of just kind of staying true to who he is as a hitter and, making sure that in moments of struggle, which, there have certainly been some of those, during the regular season, and he didn't have a hit in the first game of the series, struck out a few times as well. But yeah, in kind of the same way that Corbin Carroll jump-started the offense in that first game with a big 2-run home run, Alec Thomas did the exact same thing in game 2, getting the Diamondbacks on board, just kind of letting their offense relax maybe a little bit. They had been no hit up to that point in the game by Freddie Peralta. So, yeah, I think it was just, a big turning point in the game, and it allowed the Diamondbacks sort of set themselves up the rest of the way to just continue to have better at bats and score some runs off the Brewers bullpen.
Jesse, it's interesting. You watch that game and the catalyst just continue to be Corbin Carroll and Ketel Marte. Nice to see the big knock by Christian Walker in the 9th inning of game 1. But I mean, the usual suspects, it seemed, have got to are doing their job. It's just a matter of the Gurriels and the Walkers and all the other ancillary pieces in this lineup are going to have to kind of pick it up as they head into the Dodger land.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people have talked about the Dodgers starting rotation, and that's really been decimated by injuries and, the loss of Julio Urias, and that they really are lacking depth in that regard. But you have to remember, I mean, the Dodgers team OPS, I think a 795 in the regular season, second only to the Atlanta Braves. That team can absolutely hit. And, even if their starting pitching is not quite what it's been in the past, they've won 100 games. They won 100 regular season games because of how well they can bang the baseball around the field. And, the Diamondbacks are going to have to be up to that challenge. So on the quality of the at-bats that they had in that series against Milwaukee, I think they have a chance to do that. If you're able to do what the D-backs did against Corbin Burns and do what they did against Freddie Peralta, those are two really, really good starting pitchers. And, I think it maybe inspires some confidence of this offense for the D-backs, maybe being able to hang with one of the better ones in the game in Los Angeles.
Do you feel that the main reason when you talk about the Dodgers, you talk about their rotation and their bullpen, do you think with the addition of Sewald as the true closer, that roles have been more defined for this bullpen? That's why guys are understanding where they're going in and how they're going to perform. It's just not kind of a throw it up against the wall kind of mentality prior to getting Sewald?
100%. Yeah, absolutely. That's something that both Mike Hazen and Torey Lovello have talked about it at length at this point. Early in the season, the D-backs had some productive relievers. Miguel Castro had a really nice stretch. Scott McGuff had a really nice stretch. But at the end of the day, they just weren't able to find a consistent arm for that 9th inning. And roles just weren't really defined. Guys just didn't really, have a great feel necessarily for what inning they were going to be used in. And I think Torey Lovello just was kind of in a tough situation where he just didn't really have the arms that he needed, in order to get the Diamondbacks what they needed to win games at the back end of that bullpen. And, Paul Sewald has come in, and it hasn't always been pretty. I believe he still has yet to convert a save in a 1-2-3 inning. So, maybe we'll see that at some point during this next series. But, he still converted 15 to 17 save opportunities. And by all accounts, it really has allowed everyone else to just sort of fall into a role that they're comfortable with.
All right, Jesse, take me then to the next game, because in sports, it's what have you done for me lately? So now it is on to the Dodgers, and Clayton Kershaw gets the start in Los Angeles. How do you set this series up between the D-backs and Los Angeles?
I think the big thing for the Diamondbacks is that because they were able to finish this Brewers series in 2 games, their starting rotation lines up really well. If you just map it out on paper, they can have Zach Gallen or Merrill Kelly start 4 of these 5 games. They have Merrill Kelly slated to go on Saturday because they didn't need to use him in the Brewers series. Zach Gallen can start game 2. That's not until Monday. And then it just sort of continues on from there. You can have your 2 best starters on the mound in 4 of the 5 games. So, from that perspective, I think this works out about as well as it could for Arizona. The flip side of that is that, Merrill Kelly in particular has not pitched particularly well against the Dodgers in his career. I believe his career ERA is something like 5.5 against the Dodgers. And I don't believe he has a career win against the Dodgers either at this point. So, even if he does get 2 starts in the series and, he's been one of the D-backs' best guys this year, a lot of what happens is going to depend on, what Merrill Kelly is able to give them, and if he's able to kind of overcome this Dodgers lineup that has had his number for a while.
And Jesse, I will say this, we've been talking about the RISP throughout the season, how bad it's been for this Diamondback bullpen, or runners left on base, good old LOB. You looked at that game yesterday, they only left 3 on base for the left on base. They were 3 for 5 at runners in scoring position. Should we frame that and moving forward for this Diamondback team, because that's been the Achilles heel, is so many runners left on base. But it's good to see them come through last night and to kind of taper that off.
It was, yeah, it absolutely was big. The D-backs didn't have a ton of traffic on the bases yesterday. I know they had the one big 4-run inning. They kind of broke things open. They did well in sort of having all of their base runners sort of in the same inning lined up next to each other. But yeah, I mean, even in game one, right, I think the Diamondbacks are 1 for 10 with runners in scoring position. It was just that 2-run double by Christian Walker in the 9th inning that gave them a little bit of extra breathing room. All the other runs were scored via the long ball. So that's certainly, I mean, it's without saying, right? It goes without saying that how you perform in those big moments when you have runners on base. That's ultimately what postseason baseball
2 minutes
tends to come down to. And the D-backs took a big step forward in that regard in game 2.
So what does that mean now for you and PHNX.com? Are you guys like having multiple scribes on this beat, or is it just going to be you working till 4 a.m. in the morning again?